Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm diving into my attempt at making a ghostly figure, an actual echo from the past. But, spoiler alert, somebody call Scooby and the gang because what I ended up creating looks a lot less like a restless spirit and a whole lot more like Mr. Jenkins in a bedsheet. Ruh-roh. That was a horrible ruh-roh. This is actually an old Warhammer style paint trick where you start with a gray toned figure and then layer on some ghoulish colors to bring that spooky glow to life. I've actually used this technique before, way back when I painted the Army of the Dead. And yes, I still have photos. Just please be gentle. These things come straight from the early 2000s, back when digital cameras were powered by hopes, dreams, and potato resolutions. Working in 28mm, I honestly think this effect comes out way better than on a larger figure like 1/35 scale. I probably should have added a few more layers of gray in certain areas, basically paint the whole figure in different gray accents before hitting it with these spooky colors. I think that would have helped the glow read better. So yeah, back to the drawing board for me. I'll chew on that before I take a swing at attempt number 2. I've never really been a great figure painter, and to be fair, I've never really tried to become one either. But honestly, I should. A well-painted figure can completely sell a diorama to its audience, even if the tank or vehicle is doing most of the heavy lifting. It's like the cherry on top, except the cherry has a face and needs eyes that don't look like it just saw taxes for the first time. And what about you? Can you paint figures, or are you here with me in the good enough from the 3 feet away club? With 28mm figures, you really get two totally different worlds of painting. First, you've got the shortcut tricks, like what I'm kind of doing here. A gray base, spooky green coat, a little dry brushing, and boom, good enough for the table. Try not to look too close. And then there's the real figure painting, the kind where you slow down, layer filters, build highlights, blend shadows, and suddenly this tiny chunk of plastic starts looking like it wandered out of a golden demon entry. Not just table ready, what's the word? Not competition level, but I guess display ready, sweet spot. You know exactly the level I'm talking about. Maybe I'll start a little figure painting series. I don't know, 1 video a week, maybe every 2 weeks, I don't know. So you can watch me stumble my way through wait to confidence. Or is that confidence? No, that's confidence. And maybe even get inspired to try it yourself. I got some mini art figures and a bunch of random Tamiya minis I can start with. So, what do you think? Want to witness my horrible painting figures? Oh, what was that? Oh my god. Painting skills? Complete with some good old rambling and maybe a few accidental googly eyes along the way. Honestly, I'm starting to feel a bit burnt out. Working crazy hours just to scrape together some cash for Christmas, and I'm nearly out of kits to build. I've got this Willys Jeep sitting here, and it's kind of my last resort kit. Kind of like those Grand Tour specials. If one of their cars broke down beyond repair, they'd be forced to drive a pink Beetle or some car they all hated. That's my Jeep right now. The backup plan, the ugh, well, I guess this one's it, is kit. But don't worry, I'm hanging in there. I actually had 2 really great days with Instacart and ran into some incredibly generous people dropping Thanksgiving tips. I'll be working on Turkey Day itself, but only for a few short hours. And then it's all about heading home to dig into the good stuff and make all the Thanksgiving goodies. I'm still plugging away, layering on what I hoped would give that ghostly figure vibe. At one point, I even tried turning it into a zombie tank concept, and yeah, that idea didn't really pan out either, so it's still sitting on the shelf, simmering on the back burner. But that's okay, I've got plenty of other kits that need finishing, so there's no shortage of things to keep me busy. You can actually use this paint in an airbrush, and I gave it a try off camera, and it worked pretty well. It's a shade color, so I didn't even need to thin it. I think maybe adding some warpstone glow, I can't exactly remember the name exactly, but that color that helps you give that glow effect. It probably could have helped to give that proper glowing effect. I'm not super familiar with that technique yet, but hey, maybe I can experiment and add it on later. That's kind of how modeling goes sometimes. You try out new techniques, they don't always work, and the project ends up on the shelf like a broken toy on the island of misfit toys. But every failure is really just a learning experience, and the next time you try it, it's one step closer to something truly display worthy. That's how we all improve and get better at this hobby we love. Before I hit the figure with the gray dry brush, I wanted to add a bit of chipping. I'm using Ammo's Adams chipping color, and honestly, I love it. Could you use something similar? Sure, but I've been itching to try Ammo, so here we are. I apply it using a little piece of foam tucked into a brush. Super easy and fun. Oh, and yes, the leather dye dauber is coming, so don't worry, it's on the way. Foam works great for chipping, but not every piece of foam is out for the job. Some just don't give a good effect, so always test before committing. Looking back, if I had painted, ooh, the little hawks are getting it, the figure entirely in grays, done my chipping in grays, and then added the green, I think it would have turned out better. With this method, you really need to use brighter colors to get that effect to pop. Something I kind of knew going in, but hey, experimentation is half the fun, right? The easiest way to explain it is to think back to the early days of television and movies, when actors had to wear garish makeup just to read right on camera under the lights. It looks like over the top in person, but if translated perfectly on screen, then that's the kind of the same idea, I'm Italian again, using brighter colors first and then layering on the ghostly technique probably would have made for the effect to read much better. This video was actually filmed months ago, back when I was just getting excited about the leather dye dauber. You'll see more of it in my later videos. It basically makes a cameo in just about every build since then. It's basically a big wool puff ball. Doesn't look like it would make good chipping material, but surprisingly it does a great job. Just heads up, it does shed a few fibers on the model, so watch out for that. And now we are moving on to a light dry brush to really bring out the detail on both the figure and on the bike. I'm using my fancy brush for the dry brushing, but do you really need it? Honestly, probably not. These brushes were fairly cheap, so I grabbed a few to see how they'd perform. So far, I'm not super impressed. Most flat or filbert brushes will do the job just fine. I mean, I never really needed a special one before, so I'm not sure why I felt the urge to get them this time. Normally, I'd stick with cheap craft paints for dry brushing. They're a bit thicker and actually perform better than the usual bottle paints like Ammo, Vallejo, or whatever. Now there are special dry brush paints available, and yeah, I'd love to give them a try someday, but dry brushing isn't a technique I use all that often. So maybe, if it happens, it'll happen eventually. I actually had those dry brush paints sitting in my cart several times, but every time... Sorry, got a frog in my throat. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Okay, I couldn't resist that. Back to the model. I think about memories a lot while doing these voiceovers, and for some reason that song popped into my head. Honestly, my sense of humor probably only works for me, but sometimes I just can't resist. Lately, random things have been coming back to me, like a left-hand turn I made 24 years ago in New Jersey. No idea why it's so memorable, but there it is. Ever get one of those sudden pop-up memories that just blindsides you out of nowhere? And you wonder why? I do, anyway. Maybe it's just old age, I guess. That whole Mr. Jenkins vibe is still coming through. But I want to show you even the failures, because you can overcome them. Will I, in this video? Well, no. The mask would need to come off, and the gang would have to reveal Mr. Jenkins and drop the classic line, "If it wasn't for you damn kids," or something like that. I'm going to keep rolling with the dry brushing, and later, off camera, I hit it with the airbrush using that Bal Tan Green to help give it that, my favorite word, subtle glow effect. I actually have some Warpstone glow paint too, so I might revisit this project someday and see how that turns out. I don't know, we'll see. I might just keep it on the shelf. What do you think? If you saw this, would it read as a ghostly figure, or just a weird color choice for a model? Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. At the end of the day, I did try out some techniques and actually gave it a shot, and that's worth something in itself. Off camera, I added some AK dry ground. Totally forgot to film that, sorry. I also hit it with the airbrush, and I think the glow effect turned out really well. But yeah, I'll admit it definitely still has that Scooby-Doo vibe going on. But on that note, I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel. And I will see you in the next video. Oh, and yes, on Sunday, I'm going to attempt to finish that mini art kit. Wish me luck. Wishing me luck.